Good morning, JP.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm glad to have you with me this morning. This morning we're going to talk about some Edgecombe County cases, and Sergeant Tender apologizes for not being able to be here, but he has a very good excuse. One of the cases we're going to talk about that they have been working religiously around the clock is a case in Pine Tops, and the reason he's not here at 9 o'clock last night, I got a text and he said, I'm on a tip. So, he didn't know how long. He might have worked till midnight or better. So, anyway, I told him we would take care of this for him. So this morning we're going to talk about some Edgecombe County cases. First of all, we'll talk about the K-Files, though, and the Team Cold Case Board that oversees the K-Files. We have $15,000 in a pot, and we will pay out up to $15,000 if we get a tip and we make an arrest. It is not upon conviction. It is upon arrest. So you don't have to wait as soon as a person is arrested. We will pay out within 2 to 3 days. I mean, it's fast. You get your money. It is completely anonymous. We will not know here at WHIG. No one will know but law enforcement. So 406-6736, if you know anything about any of the cases we talk about today, we hope that you will call so you can give some families closure on these cases, because it is a terrible thing wondering where your loved one is, or also wondering who might have done something terrible to your loved one. So anyway, this show replays on Friday nights at 7 o'clock and other times in open slots. We also put it on YouTube, so you can go back, look at it. If you think you know someone that might know something, you might direct them to it. But please come forward if you do. I mean, it is your duty. If you know something, hear something, say something.
That's right.
So, anyway, that's what we encourage, and that's what JP always says. I said it for him today.
And the smallest little tidbit of information could actually go on to solve a case. It happens every day. Something that somebody may have known for years and thought that it was, of no consequence, could solve crimes today.
Yeah, you might not think it's nothing. You might say, well, it was, just a car driving by. It might have been that car that they're looking for, the color, the kind. And always notice things. I'm trying to be more aware than I used to be of my surroundings. And when I look at a vehicle now that might be a little suspicious, but I don't know, somebody might be driving by my house 2 or 3 times. I'm like, I try to see what kind, what color, learn everything you can about something or a person that might be walking by. So anyway, it's all about being aware of our surroundings. If we could put up, we're going to show you some of the most wanted in Edgecombe County and talk about some of the cases. We'll start talking about Mcrae Wilson first. There's a flyer of several of the cases that we're going to be talking about this morning. At about 2:15 a.m., Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office received a report of shots being fired at 715 East Lashley Street in Pine Tops. There were over 15 people at the house that was being used as a liquor house when the shooting happened. Pine Tops police were first to arrive at the scene and found that 4 people had been shot. There were 4 victims. Devante Burton and Mcrae Wilson were pronounced dead at the scene, while a 3rd person was transported to Vidant Medical Center in Greenville and the 4th declined medical treatment. Witnesses advised that a car came by and the occupants started shooting at the individuals outside the residence. There were several witnesses on scene, and someone knows more than they are saying. So they were in the yard. These individuals, 4 of them, right, were standing in the yard. Car drives by and shoots, starts shooting, I guess. But how do you find somebody like that?
Well, the thing of it is, clearly there were 15 people at the house. I would argue that somebody or some people of those 15, they know something, they saw something, they recognize the car, they recognize the suspect. These people can solve this crime.
Out of 15 people, somebody knew what that car looked like, something. Knows something out of those 15, and it is anonymous, so please call the number. So that's interesting. They have still not been able to find that person after, so, and this happened in 2020. It happened
June 20th.
June 20th of 2020. So, and 2 years later, almost, year and a half later, still nothing.
And this is another reason that, when the county identifies like a liquor house, it's not to pick on the liquor, it's to keep things from like this happening.
Yes.
That's why we need to identify these liquor houses.
Right.
And get them out of business.
That's exactly right.
It's not about race, it's not about picking on a particular part of the community, it's about preventing situations like this from occurring.
Am I safe to say that in a situation like that, JP, the person driving by probably, this is just alleged, my own personal opinion, driving by, those people were targeted. This was a person in that car that those people knew.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind.
More than likely, they knew it's not some random person just right by. I'm just going to shoot at somebody.
They probably knew there was a particular target there. They knew there was a probability that they would be at this residence. I'm not even saying that they were intentional targets. They probably did a drive-by to look to see if there was a particular person, a particular car there, and then they come back. I would be willing to bet money on it.
Wow. Well, we hope we can solve this crime by you helping us out, because you know what? The public solves a majority of the crimes. They do. I mean, yes, law enforcement has to do their job. They have to work on the cases, but tips are so valuable because, as we said, you know something. Somebody knows something.
Law enforcement officers tend to put the puzzle together.
Yes, they do.
Using
but they need
the
help.
Instructions from the public.
Yes.
We're just trying to fit everything together to see the picture that makes sense.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, all right, we're going to take our first break, and we'll come back and talk about Devante Burton right after this.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Okay, and welcome back. We're going to talk about now another Edgecombe County case that the Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office is working. Devante Burton. This happened on June 20th, 2020. Same date as Montreal Wilson. At about 2:15, Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office received a report. It's the same one. It's the very same. He was one of the deceased. So it's the same case in Pine Tops where the 15 people were at the house. It was a liquor house. What is a liquor house?
A liquor
what does
house
that
is
mean?
where, naturally, there's only certain days and certain hours that, alcohol is sold at the ABC store.
Right.
So if you want to go to an establishment and buy alcohol for consumption after hours, on premises, things like that. You will
Right.
go to a liquor house in a given community, it's usually where drugs are available, other illegal activities are
But how
available.
can you sell liquor?
It's unlicensed, believe me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it is a cesspool for criminal activity
Yeah.
in a given community.
And you see what happened.
Yeah.
Voila. This is why they should not be.
And they're everywhere. They are.
Well, it's another topic, but I feel the same way about sweepstakes, big places. They're going everywhere. But anyway, so again, as we repeated with Montrell Wilson, Devante Burton was one of the 2 people that were shot in the yard with 4 people standing outside, and they were pronounced dead at the scene, while a 3rd person was transported to Vidant and Greenville. The 4th guy did not want medical treatment. He declined medical treatment. Car came by, and the occupants started shooting at the individual outside the residence, and this is what happened. So, several witnesses, as JP said, 15 people, come on now, 15 people, somebody saw something. So somebody needs to collect a little cash. I mean, we'll be glad to, and we do pay in cash. That's something
do?
else. We pay in cash.
I did not realize that.
Oh, we'll hand you cash.
Okay.
We sure will.
Perfect fit.
Just hand you cash right over. So can we let's put up that flyer one more time, Robbie, if you don't mind. These are the people we're talking about today. Yes, these are the unsolved cases in Edgecombe County. So let's go over and talk about our next, George Harrison. And this happened 7/9/2010. George Thomas Harrison, 77 years old at the time, was found beaten in his home on Mutual Boulevard in Princeville and taken to a nearby hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. The suspect broke through a window in Harrison's home and attacked him around 6:05 a.m. He was found not too long after the attack and taken to Pitt Memorial Hospital, where he died at 10:30 a.m. He was found with 10 cents in his pocket and still wearing a watch and a ring. Authorities have not released if robbery was the motive for the killing. Now, this is pretty sad. 77 years old. And if it was robbery, I mean, wouldn't they have taken his jewelry?
Not necessarily. I would argue not necessarily. What if, he had recently got his Social Security check? What if he was
Right.
one of these old school people who carried around a knot of cash? A lot of older people do that. They don't carry a debit card or a credit card. They carry a handful of cash.
Right. And it was the 9th of the month, so, Social Security checks come out on the 3rd. So, I mean, he might have just gotten it, like you said, maybe a few days before, and it's probably somebody that knew the gentleman in the community. 77 years old, I mean, they probably knew that he would have, like you said, a Social Security check. And
This is where reputation comes into play. I don't know Mr. Harrison, but I would love to see his criminal record.
yes,
It would paint a picture.
yes.
It would tell you about how he's lived, and it would help me draw a more,
Yes.
more reasonable conclusion.
That's true. That's a good point. And, 6 o'clock in the morning. A lot of crimes happen early morning. I don't know. They just do. A lot of these things I run across were like early morning. It's just kind of, but anyway, if anybody knows anything about George Thomas Harrison, Princeville, North Carolina, right on the other side of Tarboro. This gentleman was 77 years old, and
typically when somebody comes into your home through a window,
yes,
robbery is is the intent.
And yes, and a lot of times, you're exactly right, and a lot of times they just want the cash, because that can't, jewelry, you got to worry about, okay, that can be identified. Yeah, that's his
how
watch.
people get
'cause it's
caught.
yeah, that's exactly right. So no, we don't want nothing like that. We just want the cash. So, and they might have had reason to know that he carried cash, or they might have just, it might have just been.
Could have been an acquaintance that
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah. So anyway, if anybody knows, please call the number 406-6736. Okay, we will go on to, I believe the next one is Stephen Mcrae, which we've talked about him right much. This is an interesting one to me. Now, I'm interested in all of them, let me tell you, until they're solved.
What
We
was
don't
that
need
date?
people on the street. 1/3/20. Well, I passed it. But this is a case that I just think is just despicable. Well,
I don't have it.
maybe it's not in this book. This was the case where, if you remember, I guess it's not in here, Stephen Mcrae. I thought he was in here, but anyway, this was the case where the daughter stole his debit card, and it was used after they found his, well, they haven't found his body, I'm sorry, but his daughter, they just about know his daughter did it, but because she's used his debit card, he's nowhere to be found, they cannot find him, but they just about know his daughter did it, but it's one of those cases you can't prove it. You can't pin her with it. You know, you just can't. But he's still missing. Stephen Mcrae has not been seen, and the daughter was acting. I remember when Edgecombe County, 2 or 3 times they've talked about it, that they come. They said the daughter was really kind of lackadaisical. She wasn't upset when about her father being missing.
And it could be because subconsciously she knows he ain't coming back.
Yeah, she knows he's not. She knows where he's at.
She's at peace up. She's already made peace in her mind.
Yeah, she knows where he's at, and she's got his debit card, and she's made purchases, and so I don't know. She was arrested one time, and they had to let her go. I don't know the technicality there, but they had to let her go, and they're still trying to put it together so that they can charge her, because they're almost sure that she did it. It's one of those cases. I hate those cases that cannot be proven. So,
You know, in a situation like that, the only thing the sheriff's department can do is meet with the DA, discuss what they have, discuss their options, and at that point in time, I mean, the DA basically says, look, you got a case that I can prosecute, or it's not personal, you've got a case that I cannot, proceed with.
well, look how bad it is when you don't have a body.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that can be found out when you have the body. But if you don't have the body, you've got nothing. I mean, nothing. So anyway, we hope this case, I really hope this case will be solved, because, for a child, a son or daughter, to do this to their parent is just disgusting. It's just the worst of worst.
I don't know, but are there any siblings? Do you know?
All I know is about her.
Her, okay.
That's all I've heard is her. So, also, I want to talk about now, he does not have this on the list. Sergeant Tender does not have this person. But let's don't forget, this was an Edgecombe County case. Stoshua Lynch. Stoshua Lynch is the case where we saw the road sign, Fairview Road, Cokie Road, right there. Cokie Road is here. Fairview Road ends into Cokie Road, right there. You know, you're familiar with Cokie Road. You know,
Where,
Fairview Road ends at Cokie Road.
Where the mattress, Southern Mattress used to be.
Southern Mattress. And anyway, it happened right there. So they showed the road signs, and Edgecombe County always talks about how important it is to show the signs. People, it clicks with people in their mind sometimes.
You can see it.
So anyway, don't forget this case, even though we didn't have this one on the list this morning, Joshua Lynch. This happened January the 11th, 2021. It's very recent. It's only a year old. It's exactly a year old. Around 10 p.m., Joshua Lynch was shot and killed in his vehicle right there at Fairview Road and Cokie Road in Rocky Mount. A female who was in the vehicle was injured as well.
I'd love to know what she had to say about it.
Yeah,
I would love to
too.
know the details she was able to provide
Yes.
law enforcement.
Yes, I would too. Absolutely would. Okay, well, it is weather time, it is break time, and we're going to come back with a couple more. We're going to talk about the Pine Tops, another Pine Tops case. We've already talked about one Pine Tops case this morning. We're going to talk about another Pine Tops case, and then one more case when we come back.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Okay, welcome back. There is a Pine Tops case that is going on. We cannot say a whole lot because it is a new case that just happened a few weeks ago, where sadly, and law enforcement, takes things like this to heart. A murder happened in front of the children, and I don't really know that many of the details about it, but anyway, it happened in Pine Tops. The person went in and killed this girl's boyfriend, and the children were watching apparently. But anyway, the Edgecombe County Sheriff's Department is actively working that case. They're actively working all the cases that we just talked about, but they're really, really actively working on this case. And a lot of you know which case I'm talking about. If you know anything about this case, please come forward. They know who did it. That is a good thing. They know who did it, but they just cannot find him. And they say he's in the Caneta, Tarboro area. So if you can help law enforcement find this individual, you will get a substantial amount of money. So in cash. So call the number 406-6736 if you know anything about this case. As a matter of fact, last night, as I said, Tender was supposed to be here this morning and could not because he was working at 9 o'clock last night on a tip that he had gotten. So they are still getting information on the case, and they will find him. I mean, you can't hide forever. And they know who did it. That's the good thing. So now it's just a matter. Because, I'm sure the people in the house, the girl, knew who it was and identified him right off the bat. I'm sure they knew who did it as soon as it happened. I wish I had the names, but I don't have the names this morning. But anyway, this is a case that We've had 2 or 3 cases in Pine Tops. As small as Pine Tops is, you wouldn't think we'd get that many cases, but 2 or 3 cases in Pine Tops lately. But anyway, if you know anything, if you know where this person is at, and I'll give you his name. If you know the whereabouts, well, I'll get to it in just a minute. Well, bear with me. I got several emails. Orlando McNair. If you know the whereabouts of Orlando McNair, please give us a call. And as we said, he's supposed to be, there he is right there. If you know this gentleman, or should I say gentleman? I don't think so. I think that's not appropriate.
That's giving him too much credit.
But anyway, if you know the whereabouts of this person, please call the number, because we need to get him off the streets. We really do. To do something like that in front of the kids is just
terrible.
Despicable.
It's cold-blooded.
It is. It is very cold-blooded. So we're hoping somebody knows something. Somebody does know something. He's hiding out in somebody's house.
Somebody's got him put up somewhere.
Yes. So please come forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So next week, let's talk about our guest, and let's talk about a little bit about the Caisson Unit. I'm so interested in that. If you've never seen it at a funeral, or what else do they use that for?
They have used it for political dignitaries in North Carolina that have passed away, former retired politicians. The Caisson Unit has traveled all over the southeastern United States to provide funeral services for law enforcement and other people killed in the line of duty. The Caisson Unit is like a horse-drawn funeral coach. And I always think back to like John F. Kennedy's funeral or Ronald Reagan's funeral. They use an Amish-built carriage that carries that law enforcement officer, that state trooper, to his final resting place. The Highway Patrol Caisson Unit was started maybe 10, 15 years ago. They traveled up to Washington, D.C. They were trained at Arlington National Cemetery. The troopers that are assigned to it take it very, very personal. They're proud of it. It is.
And it carries the casket.
It does. It does. And
when you see that casket on the back of that thing, it is just...
It will make you... It appreciates the sacrifice of that law enforcement officer.
Yes.
But Sergeant Briggs will be here next week with the Highway Patrol to discuss a fundraiser we're going to be having here in Rocky Mount.
Right.
We're going to be doing the annual oyster roast on February 19th from 5 to 9 at Rocky Mount Mills Complex. All you can eat oysters, shrimp, fish, barbecue, and all the fixings. It's $50 a person. I think we've been doing it now about 3 years, and it has probably doubled in size each year.
Well,
it is huge.
And it's going to be at the Mills.
It is.
It's going to be at the Mills. In the powerhouse, probably.
We actually put up tents there in the parking lot.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, huge. Some of the biggest tents I've ever seen.
Really?
The Caisson Unit will be there. The horses will be there. The public can come out, walk around, see the horses, see the trailers, and pretty much everything we do with the Caisson Unit, we basically operate off of donations, fundraising, things like this. And there's a lot of expenses to go into looking after horses.
Yes.
They have to be looked after at somebody's farm 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Making arrangements to get these horses and this team to places like Georgia recently, it takes an expense.
Oh yes, certainly. I was going to say, it's got to be a massive job to look after those horses.
Yeah.
Horses, are not easy.
And look, law enforcement officers this past year, we lost more law enforcement this past year than any other time in my career.
Yes.
I was watching CBS last night, and they said it was a spike of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty. So I'm sure, I hadn't talked with him to get the actual stats, but no doubt they've had the busiest year ever for the Caisson Unit. And it takes money to keep that operational.
I can imagine. I mean, remember, horses have to go to the vet. Horses have to be fed. Horses have to be cared for. And it's just a major undertaking, but it is so, so impressive.
And this is a service that we provide, or the Highway Patrol Troopers Association provides to these families.
This is the
to
North
these politicians.
Carolina.
Yes, we travel all over the state. If we're asked to come, we're going. And at no expense to the families that want this
Wow.
that want this service provided.
So, do they have this anywhere else? I mean, besides North Carolina? I mean, did y'all just come up with this in North Carolina, or how did
That
this
would be
come
a question
about?
for him.
I'm going to ask him
Sergeant
next
Briggs.
week. I want to know how this came about.
But it
because
is very impressive.
it is. I've been to 2, I believe, funerals, maybe 3. And when you see them horses coming with that casket, it just, your whole body just has chills. It's just wonderful, the job the Highway Patrol does with that. So I do want to appreciate them for that. And next week we'll be talking to the Highway Patrol, thanks to JP. Thank you for getting them to come on. So anyway, well, that's all for the K-Files for today, all for the morning show. So thank you for watching, and next week we'll be right back with you with, as we just said, our special guest.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.